everything.
And
I've
here
got
we
it.
are in the Grand Canyon, where we now have a fauna search capability, so that we can be studying, we could be studying the fauna of that region of the United States, the Grand Canyon region, and perhaps some of the surrounding areas like Canyonlands. So here we are going down the Grand Canyon, and we're moving along in a canoe, and what we're doing is actually searching for particular types of living organisms, animals, birds primarily, and ground squirrels or animals of that sort. So we move along in that area. And actually, we've done this a little bit before. Right now, we can actually identify by clicking on this. If you watch my cursor, by clicking on this button where my cursor is going, we can turn off or turn on that Grand Canyon excursion challenge, and now we can see we've got a list of the kind of animals that we have found, that I've already found, and of course we are also seeing, well, we'll see what other animals we find immediately.
And I just found a rock. You find rocks also.
Oh.
So far, I found a rock and I found a bird.
There they go.
Right up here, I think I see a lizard.
And I do recommend that you use the center mouse button, the middle mouse button, to get your cursor back. It makes for a smoother ride.
Mm.
There
Okay,
it
and
is.
I see the dot above my head, which is marking, which is marking my speech, and I see that, okay, that is indicating it turning green when I'm speaking, which is what it should do.
And for each one of these that we pick up, it brings up the list, and you can very easily see what you have found and what you have not found.
Right, and this particular region was designed to show new region owners how easy it is to create these kinds of adventures, whether it is just a fun adventure where they're finding items like a scavenger hunt, or an educational lesson that someone teaching about the Grand Canyon could bring everyone in here for an interactive experience and then discuss their findings. So something like this is very easy to create inside 3D Web Worlds with the tools that we've provided for our region owners. So I hope that's helpful.
Mm-mm. Yes, so that would actually, that would provide us with, depending on how we wanted to use it, it's formative. It can be formative assessment, or it can, or it can also be instructional or learning opportunities for students, because whenever students are called on to answer a question, they're going to learn something. At least they will learn whether they know the answer or not, and then I'd also learn something about what they should already know.
Exactly. I mean, it could be something as simple as, you find letter blocks from A to Z, and each letter presents a new vocabulary word that starts with that letter. So, it could be something as simple as that, or something as complicated as an environment, or perhaps maybe the working of a cell, which we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm. And I just found an indigo bunting, and actually, I see that it's enlarged now, um, and I'm not sure where I should have expected to find it, but obviously I'm finding it near the down near the river. I expect perhaps I wouldn't be likely to find it up in near the top of the Grand Canyon. Oh, and I've got a whole bunch of information about this species, um, which I'm which I can read and learn more about. Uh, Read to learn more about the species. Okay, and
And I found a beetle sitting on a rock, and so you have to pay attention as you go by, or
mm-hmm.
you'll miss something.
Oh
There's a
yes.
spider in here, or tarantula.
Oh, that's a tarantula, huh? I actually didn't know that they um, were were endemic to the Grand Canyon. I know we actually have tarantulas in Texas, um, and I suppose they're pretty much available in much of the Southwest.
Fortunately, I did not see one when I went to the Grand Canyon.
I never saw one at the Grand Canyon. Well, you're not going to see them. They're usually in
That's what I hear.
holes, except at the evening.
Right. That's actually what the National Park Service said, is that they're rarely seen, but they are there.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see on my video, I'm just scrolling through the information here.
And I'm
And
seeing. Mhm.
each one of these things that we find, as you read about it, you can scroll to the bottom and you can learn more by actually going to the source of where that information was gotten.
Yeah, and of course you did not actually have to identify these creatures. You simply had to identify the location, and recognize that it was one of the animals you were seeking. Now I just ran into violet green swallow, um, and
That
beautifully colored.
that's a good point, Selby. So this could actually be turned into, say, two separate regions, or a region that a teacher works with on 2 different days,
Mm-hmm.
where the first time you're going through learning what the animals are, and then the second time going through you have to actually identify the animal.
Yeah,
So
yes.
we have the tools for those scripts available as well.
So, well, yes, so you could actually have to identify or ask now, this is, of course, the case in which you are um, presumably asking mm, more information, dealing with more information, probably about a smaller and more specific set of species, like the birds. Um,
It could be anything. So
yeah.
if you just wanted to take a small subset of all the animals that we're finding in here, and provide like a little quiz to see if they're able to identify them on site. And it can be either a quiz or a quest, depending on what type of class you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
The quest would allow them to answer the question until they get it right,
Mm-hmm.
and the quiz would just accept their answer, and then the teacher would be able to assess their success rate.
The teacher would get information about their success rate, and so of course would the student, right?
Exactly. Actually, at the very end, when they finish the quiz, both the teacher and the student would be notified immediately of their results.
Mm-hmm. So the students, and that of course is one of the ways that students learn. Obviously, they're going to know if they can't identify the animal, well, they will perhaps be able to be identifying something, because they probably get a list of things to specify the identification, and then
Right.
yeah, and then they would have to, and they could either then be right or not or wrong in in selecting in their selections what identification they're using.
Exactly. And if you're looking for the full spectrum of interactive learning, then If I were teaching this class, I would probably put out something like this where they're learning and reading about it. And then the next time they came through, it would be what we call the interactive quest. And that would allow them to answer the question until they get it right so that they can learn from their mistakes. And then come back a third time and actually take an assessment of right or wrong. You only get one chance to answer. So that allows them to practice the information before they're actually tested on it.
That's, of course, what you really want to do.
Right. Right.
Because that's how that's how students learn. They learn from trying and failing sometimes until they get it right. Yes.
Exactly. So I thought this was an indigo bunting, like the bird that you picked out earlier. But it wasn't. It was the blue-green sparrow. And from that mistake, I would learn by looking closer at the bird. So it's just one of the many tools that we have to offer educators here, or people that just like to build fun, interactive games.
And of course, now this actually continues indefinitely because we're circling around a segment of the Grand Canyon.
Exactly. It's actually the Horseshoe Bend repeated and turned a couple of times so that it's an enclosed, never-ending environment. So it literally is a photogrammatic rendition of the Horseshoe Bend, but we did take liberties for the overall excursion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can, obviously we don't do that. The river won't do it that way, but
But we can here.
And I see it. All right, I just found a javelina. I want to call it a javelina. Most people will call it a javelina, but I know Spanish, so I tend to want to call it the correct pronunciation. And
I'm not sure. Is it actually called javelina?
javelina, yeah. It's in Spanish. It is. Now in English, well, I don't know. English. English often carries over the pronunciation if it can. And javelina, all we have to do, and we can easily carry over the J because it's an H in English.
Right. Yeah. Someone just reading it might say javelina.
Javelina. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Just the way it goes.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, I was pronouncing the I as an E, which is what it would be in Spanish.
No, I think you had it absolutely correct. I just meant someone just coming in, seeing it for the first time without that knowledge might say javelina.
Well, I think probably the guides will tell you it's javelina.
I would agree.
And now we're basically showing, okay, that I've accumulated several new objects. I've identified them and added them to my list. So I'll now run by my list now so the viewers can see. There's the ones that I have successfully identified are in white, and the ones that I haven't yet found are the ones in green, or showing up as green. And now let's see, is there anything else we want to talk about here?
I just want to mention that if you are a teacher and you have several students like we have today, there's 3 of us participating today, and we're all on voice, and I can go anywhere in here that I want to go, get ahead or lag behind and take my time, and the teacher still has the ability to talk to me no matter what my pace is going through this.
Exactly.
So it's very good for an individual student and the way that they learn.
Oh, yes.
I also wanted to mention the avatars. So we have all different kinds of avatars here at 3D Web Worlds. This particular excursion, simply because of sitting in the boat, and the boat was sized for the Zenzi. This particular region asks everyone to change to this, unique character called the Zenzi. My Zenzi is customized, so if you have a customized Zenzi, it does not change, and it's just a temporary change. So if you are a human avatar, once you leave here, it automatically reverts. So I know sometimes people look at the Zenzis and get a little bit confused. So it's just a fictional character like other avatars, and this particular region requires it to ride the canoe. So I hope that's helpful.
Oh, yes. And so now let's see, if I were running a class, I would need a number of these locations. And how much would this cost me?
One region currently is $5 a month. And there is no size limit or prim limit to our regions. The limit that we always say is the slowest computer in your group, because it is browser rendered. So it's more about user experience than items on the region. So if you have a classroom that has a bunch of supercomputers, there is no limit on the size space that you can use. But it's also very inexpensive and easy to have multiple regions and to connect them together. So if you wanted to make a different region for each of your lesson plans, there would be no need to tear one down and rebuild it. You could just keep them all in your catalog. Very affordable and very easy to use time and time again with each year, each semester.
Would you be paying all the time for each one of those regions, or would you only be paying when you have it available?
It is $5 a month per region as a set default, but any teacher coming in that's offering a wide number of regions, if they make it available to the public, so that other teachers can enjoy the work as well, then we work with them to offer additional discounts.
The lower cost.
Correct, right. So let's say that if I'm a teacher that comes in, and I'll just use a big number of 50, and I've created 50 lesson plans, and I've made them available to the public so that other teachers can benefit from them, then we would give them a significant discount as opposed to paying 50 times 5 every month.
Yeah, I think that would be a very good thing to do, because, of course, other teachers could use it, and in fact, at some point, they could actually be paid by the other teachers. They could collect a little bit of money from the other teachers, the same way that we have teachers paying teachers at this point for lesson plans.
Exactly right, Selby. The beautiful thing about 3D Web Worlds is it sometimes confuses people, but we have every option that you could want built into the platform. So if a teacher would come to me and say, I want to build 50 lesson plans, and then I want to make them private except for those that purchase for entrance. It's already built into our system. We would just make it happen. So there is some bit of a learning curve, just like with any new system, but our staff, we're the staff right here, including Ray, who is silent, all very friendly. So, if you're looking to do this, we're happy to help you make it happen. We know that sometimes moving into a virtual space is confusing. And also, if you're moving from something like an application like Second Life or OpenSim, sometimes you think you can't do what you can do here, what you could do there. But in actuality, you can do more here, because not only do we have the power of the virtual space, we also have the power of the web. So when you combine those, you get things like easy video concerts, live streaming classrooms, very, very versatile.
Well, and of course, if you're doing some sort of project-based learning, or inquiry-based learning especially, you have the whole web available to you, at least you would normally, and the whole web means that you can use the entire web for your inquiry-based activities to get an answer to your inquiry.
Absolutely, very easily. And the other things that we also hear about is that sometimes people are like, well, for our classrooms, we use Zoom, especially if they're doing virtual, because of the need to see their student on camera. And we actually have our own system built in so that if you needed to see your student on camera, you could do it within this space. You wouldn't have to go outside to another application. And also, if you, the one thing for me as a teacher, I was in some of the other applications and it got very expensive to have one piece of land, and I continually had to archive a lesson plan to set another one out. And that's actually one of the reasons I moved to web-based virtual spaces, is because I didn't want to have to continue to rebuild the space. So now anytime I have a new lesson plan, I just create a brand new space for it, and there's no need to tear anything down.
Okay, so I think.
Did that answer?
Go ahead.
Did that answer your question?
Yep, I think that covers everything we were going to talk about. So I'm going to terminate the video at this point, and hope we've provided some information of the kind that people are looking for. I'm terminating now.